just not impressed with them at all. There's nothing about them where I'm like, yeah, you're going to make some noise in the playoffs. Like, no, Derek Carr, it's like, love him. Was a fan of him that year. He almost won the MVP if he didn't break his back, but I feel like Dennis Allen could be the problem.
Yeah, I'm not impressed with what I've seen from Dennis Allen at all. I think that the Saints team, it just doesn't have the same flair as they had with Sean Payton. And I don't think it's because of a lack of talent, because a lot of those guys are still there. You still have Cam Jordan there, and you still have the Alvin Kamara's of the world, who has still continued to play very well for them. So I do think it's Dennis Allen. I think the head coaches that are in that division, we look at Arthur Smith. I have more faith in Arthur Smith. I have more faith in, even someone like a Todd Bowles, who's coached very well. So you look at him, maybe the third or fourth best head coach in that division. If you want to put Frank Wright below him or above him, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Still a guy that they should look at other options in the offseason, because I think his contract will be up, and I think they should decide to maybe go a different direction.
Yeah, it should go a different direction. I think you should shop Michael Thomas. I think you should shop Alvin Kamara. I think it's time to start shopping players on this team, because you don't look like the best team in your division. You still have a chance to win your division because it's so mediocre, but what does that really give you at the end of the day? If you make the playoffs and then you get bounced and then you like maybe decide to keep Dennis Allen and Derek Carr, it's like, I think it's time to move on from both of those guys. Just start to trade away some pieces. I know it's not great for Derek Carr, but hey, this is what you signed up for. This is a rebuilding Saints team that are in an identity crisis, and I guess that's the best way to describe it, and don't really know what direction they're going. So Texans, really impressed. We had a good feeling about them in the offseason. Saints, not mediocre team. Like in the Bible, Jesus is like, if you're lukewarm, I'll spit you out of your mouth. I want you to be cold or hot.
Yeah.
And then we have the Lions and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers staying in the NFC South. So Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming into this game with some momentum, defense playing well, coming off a bye. Baker Mayfield undefeated versus the bye, which is undeniable there. They're 3-1. Their only loss was versus the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday Night Football. Then the Lions coming into this game after beating the Carolina Panthers, the Buccaneers division foe. And then this was a game where I'm like, it could be tough for the Lions off the road, coming off a high win, going into Tampa against a team off a bye, but defensively, the Lions were able to absolutely dominate, and this is why I picked the Lions to go to the Super Bowl. Is like their defense this year, it's going to be much better than it was last year. Aiden Hutchinson is a monster. Jack Campbell out there stopping the run. Tampa Bay Buccaneers weren't really able to move the ball. Baker Mayfield did miss some open receivers down the field that could have opened up the game and made it competitive. Maybe this game should have been at least 17-20, but overall the Lions defense were able to make the necessary plays to win this game. And then this was the game that Chris Sims goes, oh, the Lions are a legitimate Super Bowl contender, and I've seen enough. And then you have people like Colin Cowherd saying that they're a contender, people like Shannon Sharp, Stephen A. Smith, and then everyone's starting to be like, the Lions are a legitimate Super Bowl contender. Who could have who could have thought of this? Like preseason, we're like, the Lions are going to be much better than they were last year. We picked them to go 15-2, which is very realistic. Their toughest games left on their schedule are the Ravens and the Chargers, and they can definitely beat both of those teams. They are better than both those teams. The Ravens have been inconsistent. God forbid that the Chargers win a close game on the road or at home. Either way, so it's like the Lions, we knew they were going to be this coming into the season, and it's been without Amon-Ra St. Brown, with David Montgomery going out of the game. And this was the game where Tampa Bay was like, we're going to shut down the running game because that's what the Lions like to do best. And then Jared Goff's like, okay, let me throw for 353 yards and 2 touchdowns. The touchdown to Amon-Ra was sick. That was just a play where you're like, okay, Amon-Ra's like a great possession guy, but like, no, he's an actual athlete and he's one of the best receivers in the league. And then Jameson Williams, did you see that adjustment he made on that catch where he's falling, switches over the shoulder, is falling backwards and catches that ball while the guy's trying to knock it out of his hand? So it's like Jameson Williams is the piece that people really overlook on this team, where it's like, he's not just a speed guy last year. Like last year, he was a legitimately great wide receiver where he's making some ridiculous catches. Then you're going to give Jared Goff 3 really good wide receivers, two really good tight ends where Brock Wright's the blocking guy and Sam Laporta is a legitimate number one target, not just tight end. And then without Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery going out, you still have one of the best offensive lines in football. And then they have Craig Reynolds, who's like that grinder that they really like. And then just defensively, Aaron Glenn has done a great job. And I think the last thing I'll say is you can notice Dan Campbell. Look at him on the sideline last year. He looks like he's in the sunken place. He looks like he's a little bit frustrated. And then this year, it's just all like intense. Like, okay, next play. Let's go. Let's get it. Let's get after it. Let's go. Intensity. And that's really what you need to turn around a team as cursed as the Lions to create a Super Bowl contender where you have someone like Dan Campbell who's able to bring his own guys in there and just ramp up the intensity. And it's there week in and week out.
Yeah. And this is the difference between one cursed franchise and another. We'll talk about the Chargers later and how they are and a couple other teams, but this is a team that something feels different in the air. We said this starting last year when they rattled off 8 of the last 9 wins, and it just felt different. And we felt it in the air. We watched the Hard Knocks. We fell in love with them then, and we were frustrated with how they played to start it out, but now they started off this season extremely hot, and I don't see this going away anytime soon. You watch their post-game locker room talk, and it seems like everyone's on the same page. There's not a lot of ego in the locker room either.
No.
It seems like everyone has the identity. They want to prove everybody wrong. Teams that didn't believe in them, and now they're suddenly hopping on the bandwagon now. It's like, no. They got the Cam Suttons. They got the CJ Gardner-Johnsons in the offseason. They've drafted better than probably any team in the NFL to this point, having 4 starters in the first 2 rounds with Jahmyr Gibbs, Jack Campbell, Brian Branch.
Yeah.
And all these guys that have stepped up and balled, and then going after someone like David Montgomery, who didn't really get a lot of traction in free agency, not really believing in him. You hate to see him go down, but you see Craig Reynolds, who has been a great system guy for them, making it count when it matters, not really getting a lot of opportunities with D Swift last year. And now he steps in, does a good job for them, getting between the tackles and being kind of that grinder that they want him to be. And then Sam Laporta, that's another guy that I forgot to mention that they drafted. He looks like he could be, if he isn't already, one of the best tight ends in football. He's athletic. He can create separation and make those big physical catches. He's been a home run. Talk about replacing Hawkinson with Laporta. That's been fantastic for them, getting a draft pick in the meantime.